Hello, this is Ann Kelly. I'm trying to reach Bryant Tillman. I had asked Bryant to come and speak to our talent and brush group. I'm just following up on that. Phone number is 248-626-7688. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to figure out exactly what you want to know about me and what I do. When I began painting, before I was painting, it was just childlike drawings. That goes back quite a few years. Um, Starting out, I wanted the same things I think most kids want when they start to draw. They want to grasp or apprehend the world through what they do. Sometimes the parents help with that. They might give them piano lessons and stuff, or a calculator to play with, or a little erector set. Or if you're low maintenance kind of people, you might want to give them a set of crayons. I was one of those crayon kids. And what I wanted to do, when I was drawing stuff like those cool little rocket planes in the back of your notebook, they were always from one side view, like a side view, a flat planimetric side view. But spaceships meant to be drawn at different angles. So when I was a toddler, I was trying to draw in perspective somehow. You could almost tell what I was trying to do. I actually showed both sides of the airplane. It looks like a Picasso kind of deal with it. You see the eyes on both sides and those over there. But from there, I was trying to apprehend the world through drawing. And when kids were painting the sky with a blue band across the top of the paper, top edge of the paper, I would bring the blue all the way down to the horizon, because that's what I see. And part of it takes me into representation. Um, I wish I was an abstract painter, but I think that's where the frontier is. But in developing my own style, I developed my own frontier. It took me through Impressionism into the kind of work I do now. But that's the way I started. I started with Impressionism. Taking me up through CCS, up to that point, all I want to do is space comics. The stories get a little more mature as you grow old, but I didn't really have the chops to do that kind of stuff. I always thought I did. When I got to CCS, it was a tragedy in the making. Reason was simple enough. I wanted what CCS had to help me draw my dirty comics. CCS had other ideas. It's a diploma mill going in a different direction. If I couldn't find my heart in the curricular I picked, then I would be misapplicating what I've learned from that school. I ended up dropping out. I was in commercial design. The reason I picked it was so I could get all the illustrative techniques needed, I believe, to make better comics. It worked to a certain extent, but my heart wasn't in the subject matter that the school was. No, advertising design, layout, lettering. Lettering was helpful because it taught me a certain precision. So I got things from it, but not enough. and I went out into the streets. I didn't really understand what I even wanted in school. I ended up in Wayne County Community College. It was there I met Bradley Jones. Bradley Jones is one of the past great artists of this city. And he changed my life, taking me on a field trip along with the other students to Detroit Institute of Arts. And straight away, he went into the Impressionist ring. And something there connected. I don't know the exact moment, other than I liked what I saw. But in the end, I knew I wanted to be a painter even more than a cartoonist. Something in there appealed to me, and I went at it. Bradley got me going, and it took time. And I was living in apartments in the Cass Corridor. I fell into the community. This was in the mid-'80s. That was a few years ago. Self-portrait in my bedroom. I stayed average in the streets. I absorbed everything I could from the Impressionists, and it took me only, I read the books on it, and I could see that they lived a life not unlike mine, misunderstood by their public, opposed by their academic peers, opposed. They had the new new vision, and I felt that. And all I wanted to do was paint the way that I thought I understood everything. But in those days, I have to be honest, I was never good enough. It was always hit and miss. Sometimes I put more reliance on the lucky stroke or the happenstance than the whole composition. Sometimes I try to paint around it. Sometimes I try to reproduce it, and I miss it again. After a while, I gotten better. I have to look at my notes because I know my life was like this. Sometimes I have to read notes. And I was able to improve slightly over the years, but I still wanted to do, like I said before, the abstracts. And I took a time off to attempt to do, this is cerebral stuff, I'm doing abstract expression. That's this work here. This was in '97. It's the first and the best. All the others just slowly turned to crap. My heart wasn't quite there. My mind wasn't quite there. So it was but what happened was, and this is a clue, there was a developmental thing that happened where I learned something from this. That was my best work. This is what I come up with like 2 or 3 years later. It's not bad, but clearly it's not abstract expressionism. It's sort of a regionalism, like a surrealism. The pastel sketches I did of the large paintings was a lot better. Paintings were all right, but when I did the sketches afterwards, I get this kind of stuff going on, and it seemed to complete the whole work going in that direction. Some people do sketches first, then do the painting. Well, I got a little lazy and did the paintings first, but the sketches were worthwhile. This is off 16 Heart. These are the 16B. I couldn't give it a real title. It would be stupid if I gave it a title. It's just I wasn't even altogether certain with the painting. I call it 16 Heart after Thomas Bettenhart. Yeah, you can see a little bit of that regionalism style in the painting. Not so much in the pastels. That was the departure. You'll see that where it ended up in the second. There it is. Closer back to abstract expressionism, but because I was trained as a realist painter, the depth and the it all came through, and it stopped being anything like an abstract expressionist painting. Here's another large one in the same suite, 15 Mich. And you'll see pastels of that in a second. And that's how I went through the early 2000s, trying to see if I can break into that abstract expressionist arena. And I really didn't make it because I didn't understand where my heart really was. It was back in Impressionism. And that was only because I haven't finished with it yet. I haven't gotten to where I want. And what I needed was a personal style. We're getting close to what we're going to talk about because the breakthrough came 2 years after that. Around this time, Gilda Snowden and some people were getting into the Kresge Fellowship Awards. Gilda won the first round back in '09, and she was after me to apply at the same time. I didn't think I was good enough, and I wasn't. She came around again in 2011. This time I think I wanted to be in the running, but I didn't apply. I didn't have the time. By 2013, I was about to be evicted out of my apartment. All my hustles ran down. And right around that time, well, that's a little bit before that, I did this series. Before that got to that point, I did this series at the Artist Market in 2010. And there was a method where I was painting small. It's kind of like I was cheating. I paint small in order to get the kind of impressionist feel if it was larger. I just shrink it. It looks great. People do that with Turner sketches. Small little Winslow Homer sketches. It looks very impressionistic when you blow it up really large, when it's small. In cases like this, I wish I could paint it this size. I wish I could paint it this size. That's worth $1 million. But going out there and painting out in the street and get hit by cars. I get tired of being out there. I did it when I was young. I was out there in the snow, weather like this. I was painting. And wore my knuckles to nothing. But when I work with small photographs, where I got the camera right here. It's the camera I used. I went around and snapped pictures of scenes like this. I apply it to paint, and it's like this was like 6 by 6 inches, so it's very small. But it has all the wildness and feel and all the light of the scene. I showed photographs that corresponded to this picture in Facebook not too long ago. People claim they like that, but I don't know. I wanted to delete my photos. I got outvoted on Facebook, so I better not say anything. Anyway, once I got this series down, I felt confident enough to do slightly larger work. And I got a little larger, so I felt I was ready. Well, the Kresge situation came up in 2013. I had no money. I had another idea which failed, and I was really in despair because I knew that I just already put in my application for the Kresge grant, and then I'm waiting for a $25,000 miracle. And nobody's that lucky. No one can ask for that kind of thunder. I eventually got the call, and I was shocked to the point of not being shocked. But I felt I was going somewhere with that. In a moment, you'll see the portfolio. But what I want to say first is that if you want to get into the Kresge scholarship, fellowship, Kresge Arts Fellow, is that right? Just remember that your written statements, your artist statements, your narrative statements, they're half your portfolio. It really is. It really is. you got to understand what you got to understand what you are writing about, what you are painting, enough to articulate it, or they're going to look at you funny. And what I had did, I didn't know how to approach because he's asking you to be vain sometimes. I don't remember. Do you remember the exact wording of some of the questions you asked, like in the narrative statement? I didn't want to get off into that.
I think the narrative is something like, kind of like an overview, talking about your work, what it is that you're doing, and what you're interested in doing. That was the narrative. And then there was another one.
Community statement, community arts statement.
Community impact. And then there was another one that was about, suppose you get the fellowship, what do you think you might do?
That was in a community statement, I think. Yeah, it was actually stuff like that. I was lucky to be a gallery curator, so I can put in that as far as community impact. But when it came to that point, I had to tell them point blank that you're paying for all of me, not just the painter. If you ask me questions about my community impact, it's more than just the painting. And there's one more thing I want to share with you. To be able to, one of the things I think they appreciated most about my portfolio as far as written statements was my ability to be able to examine myself. Because I never looked at myself in terms of if I'm not good enough, why not? As opposed to who's happening. On your way there? Like this. Okay. I'm going to step this way. Block everybody's picture. This was a few years back. I messed up the grapes. The grapes are trash, but the banana really cooks. I like the bananas. Great bunch of folks. Where you at, Coco? I sent emails to every one of these guys. Who shows up at Coco? I'm trying to place the face. She's in there somewhere. Claudia Shepherd. Yeah? Oh. Over there? I believe it is. That's Terry Blackhart. That's the visual artist. These are the visual artists here. I had the option of gathering all the best work I did in the last few years and put it in this portfolio. So I just dug out all the JPEGs of all the most, these are all sold, of the most successful work, and put them in there. This is Fort Town. And in a few moments, I'm going to pause. Derek, throw it up here. My phone. Man, I lost it. I lost my phone. Anyway, this is it. The Destruction of Turkey, number 7. So, what if I were to tell you that this painting is an intellectual failure? That this is actually a bad painting as far as what I wanted? It's too good. I'll be honest. Impressionist work. There's a point where realism and impressionism divide. And I crossed the line into competence and technique over feeling and emotion. Someone said Facebook, I find your Lumen Pam reflections annoyingly authentic. Now, that could be because he was correct. The Lumen Pan is the star of the painting. Should it be? Maybe it should be the turkey. The turkey's all right. But that pan is just kicking ass. pretty much eat the pan. You want to wash that pan out and save it for next year because that pan is a great looking pan. I went to all the trouble to make the pan great, and I think it took me away from whatever you want to do. Because you got photorealists, painters that could do much more pannier pan than that, I think. And there's photographers. I've been at war with photography all the time. I keep thinking these threatened painting. I use photography as a tool to set up what I'm going to paint, not to dictate any kind of creative standard or anything. People can go off and do their photography, and we paint. And we're supposed to be able to. Well, the thing is, we're supposed to be able to establish ourselves as painters by being original and away from photography. The easiest thing to do is abstracts, but there's a method and a way and an emotion and a style of doing your own painting of your own realist object that's your own. It's your unique fingerprint, and you have to learn to develop that. This was taking me away from it. Fine painting, I sold it. Skip Davis does handsprings wherever he talks about it. If I do another one like these, I might as well throw away my brushes. I got cameras all over the place. I just lost one. I don't need to do work like that. I need to do work, at least bring in the motion of what I'm doing. Included in the portfolio for the Kresge Fellowship are these small sketches of the Maccabees building on Warren and Woodward. You see the Welcome Center for Wayne State over on your left. And you just about make out the public library. I have to walk to it. I did a bunch of them. I kept doing. And one thing I learned, those windows on the Maccabees building don't really matter too much. And you see what it is. And it's just as real as a realist work without even having to go through trouble of getting the measurements right of every little line and dash. You should see the buses. You always make out the make of that car, but you realize that's my hand shaking. What you gotta get is the atmosphere. Don't get the detail, get the atmosphere of it. This rainy day, this slick streets, light reflecting off the street, and the shadow on the west sidewalks from the back of the building, the light coming from behind it. You want to get the atmosphere of that dreary day. This is familiar to you. Just came out of that. Same scene again. We got the same thing, different day. But getting the mood of the day. You're sitting in your window with a coffee and you're looking down at it. But I was getting to where I was getting the feel of doing a nice painting that's closer to my style. But what I needed was one more step. I should have read this to you. It might explain this just as easily. In referring to the destruction of Turkey number 7, the commentary, this is from the Kresge's artist statement. This is what I mean by questioning myself. Letting them see, I can read this way. Letting them see what I was thinking when I did this work. The camera does not replace or compete with the inherently personal character of spontaneous expression, of personal interaction. But to the extent that the risk of sliding sideways into technically driven photorealism is even a question, I can offer an example of my works during a series called The Destruction of Turkey, of an over-identification with photographic metaphors. The accusation, as I heard it, was that perhaps it suited too much of something. Since then, I became cautious of the fear this style of representation may amount to little more than mocking nature. toward the end of that period, I wanted to do a group of atmospheric paintings of DIA. And this was during the time when the millage was first coming out and everybody's thoughts were coming. The other part of me, I haven't shared much, was that building. That's my gallery. I came in with Ray Geyer, and where are you, Derek? You should take a bow. Not now, later. This is the latest show. It was one of our recent shows, an anti-war demonstration. It was curated by two friends of mine, and I sort of helped them with the placement. It's a large space. How many square foot would you say is down there?
It's about 2,500 square feet.
Yeah, it goes around in an L shape. It's really quite big. It used to be an Albert Cohn building. I have it written down right here. I'll read it. This is good stuff. The history. The building was built for Leonard Warehouse Company for fireproof business storage. There is another almost identical building on the corner of Tuxedo and Woodward in Highland Park. You might have seen it. What they have in common is these pillars. How you can tell it's an Albert Kahn. And it says Leonard Warehouse right on that safe door. The safe door remained after the people were long dead. But that's a good gimmick. We call it the vault, because that's what it was. And then you see the L going that way. Lots of room to display work. And we get some pretty good reviews. Maybe you guys can come in. We might have an open call one of these days, and you guys can. I'll tell you what. Hang on a second. I have business cards. I think I was prepared. You just pass these out. Everyone gets one. Seeing as I just lost my phone, I'm not worried about credit calls anymore. Yeah, I came in that building. Actually, I've been showing there off and on since 2008, 2009. I curated a couple of shows there. I call myself a guerrilla curator at that time. Where I'm running around with a pen and pad. And over time, the building changed hands. I was part of the package. I wanted to be. I wanted to do shows there. I wanted to curate shows there. I seem to like that as much as I do painting. Around 2011 is when I permanently set up. Was 2011 when I set up? Yeah, and I began doing shows on a regular basis, along with painting. We have some very good people in our neighborhood. Very good people. But they're older. And since they're older, they tend to get elbowed to one side by some of the kids that come in. And they got their own little guerrilla setups. And he tore up his building. He has a second building. He pretty much tore that up. But these people here are older and professional. And this is Catherine Pete's work. I think this is, I don't know if you know Jean Barry. That's her work over there. I got videos of them. I might be able to play a little later. And I'm going to follow up. I'm going to shut it down because I'm ahead. Best work, always the last. At this point is where I found close to my style. I'm getting there. You notice I don't really paint any people in here. I just slap it in there. You tell me there's people there. Where I'm feeling the fruits and veggies, I'm feeling the buildings. I don't paint the buildings. I don't paint the fruits and veggies. The source work is still photography, but this time I didn't take the pictures, obviously. There's this pair of guys in the 1900s named the Luminaire. What a name. The Luminaire brothers. And they do a special photographic process with, what do you call it, autochrome. It's just a photographic process, but not only does it get the local color, it gets the local light. I swear it's better than most photography today. Because it's taken way back in time like this, it has a strange effect. When I try to paint it off the photographs, it comes out looking like I was there. It's just, I call my best work. Well, that's not true. Something always comes up later. But the part about realism in painting is that through this new method, it looks like it's a smaller picture than it is. Actually, they're like 18 by 24, or even a little bigger than that. You get into the realm of the surface is everything now. The texture is everything. The technique is your own. And there's less reference to realism as far as exact line or even details. I want to get as much detail in there without getting off the work. Maybe I even cut out back on the line of details, as long as I get the overall impression of what I'm painting. It looks like I'm there sketching away. And I want to close this off with a quote from Renoir. How hard it is, he once said to a young painter, to find exactly the point at which the imitation of nature must cease in a picture. The painting must not smell of the model, and yet one must be conscious of nature. Find your own way, and you make it powerful and strong. You make it your own signature. It could be realism, it could be anything, but it's got to be yours. And that's painting. There's a second part, but it looks like you guys didn't leave.
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I even still have the thing recording me here. Let me see if I can get rid of this. Well, I don't see me. Where am I? Yeah. And that'll be that. Wait a minute. Where's my check?
I got it.
Okay. That's it. Buy me a new cell phone, I guess. Thank you very much. I guess I could buy me a new phone if I can't find it.